Ladies and gentlemen, my warmest greetings to you. Welcome. Today we have a very, very special guest, a very honored guest, Robin Neeley. We call her mother because of her beautiful energy. You cannot go to this person unless you come back feeling charged and happy and full of joy. So it's a great honor to be here with you today, Robin. Welcome. How are you feeling?
Oh my goodness, Amir, how wonderful it is to be invited and to have such warm words welcoming you. I feel marvelous to be here. I have been in the community for so many years, but been out of it for a few years and just talking to pockets. So to be invited into this community and meet people like you and to have an openness. It's just a marvelous thing. I so excited to see what we bring forth today.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I'm already loving the energy. Okay, so Robin, please tell me and the esteemed audience a little bit about yourself. So let's go to when you were a child and growing up. What are the most beautiful things you remember? So, what was nature like when you grew, where you grew up? Did you have rivers and mountains, or was it warm, or was it cold?
Oh, I grew up in what we call in the United States the Great Lakes. And I don't know if you know, but we have this state that kind of looks like a mitten. And I was kind of born in the Indiana, but lived in that lower part. And so for me, I'm still that way. I'm barefooted. If you go to my Facebook page, you'll see me on a cement blocks with my brother, and I'm barefooted. I'm 4.5. He's 5.5. And that's the way I loved it. I love the green of the world. I mean, we had rolling land and trees and rivers and lakes. I mean, you couldn't go very far without finding rivers, lakes, and ponds. And of course, if you went far enough, you could go to the Great Lakes, which is like standing at the edge of the ocean, except for that it's fresh water. You can't see where it ends. And if you go to the Lake Michigan, which is on the west side, I call it the dunes. But if you go there, I mean, sometimes it's 40, 50 feet down to where the water is because the water level has changed that much. But it's very shaped from glaciers. But nature, oh my goodness, I just love nature. And that's what it was to me. I was a wild child as far as loving to be outside. I had teenage parents and they were learning life. And so I love to be barefoot and I love to be outside and I love to be among the nature. And
What
so
a beautiful picture. I mean, I'm just seeing this in my mind's eye and enjoying the whole thing as you're describing it. How beautiful. So,
yeah.
Robin, do you think that access to nature had an effect in the emergence of your healing gifts, your psychic gifts, setting you on the path to life? So, do you think nature and having access to it was beneficial to you?
Oh, between that and dreams and just that intuition, because that came early. Oh, yes, very much so. I can remember I must have been in maybe first grade. And I remember a playtime because, I was kind of controlled by father and stuff. But we were renting this place that had a backyard behind the house. And it had bushes, probably lilac bushes along one side, and then this huge weeping willow tree at the back corner. It was so big you could get underneath it and hide, or you could swing on the branches because they were so strong and flexible. In fact, at Patty's Mother Earth Coffee, I used to sing the willow song often because it spoke to me. But I can remember playing and I would go out and pick leaves and I would gather leaves. But in my memory, I could remember a time when my wooden cupboard was filled with dried plants, so it was, for me, it was like a blending of what had been, what I was seeing, and what I was experiencing all rolled into one. And people would just naturally they would give me babies, they would give me people to help, so that just kind of came naturally to me, and being outside just nurtured that, because I was aware of what everything was doing, and the birds coming and the animals coming, and so I think it was, for me, it felt safe. That was the safe part of the world.
How beautiful. So, like many of our fellow spiritual seekers, you were born fully empowered. And that's an interesting theme, I suppose, for the benefit of our esteemed audience. This is so beneficial. People are born with all their gifts active. And then unfortunately, parents, teachers, and society dulls it down to a point where it's not sharp anymore. That has been my experience. I'm wondering if you also had to face the suppression of other people saying that your magic is bad, your gifts are not good, please don't do that. It's
Well,
unusual. Ever.
yes. And that I think at first I didn't really understand that I was getting these things and what they were. And like in the fourth grade, I went to a lot of country schools. There was one room in the school or two rooms in the school. And this one time they had built a bigger school and they combined all the country schools. And I remember I met this young lady, and she was very different from me. She had older siblings, and my brother and I were just exactly almost a year apart. So there was no older anything. My parents were only 17 years older than me. And so when I met her and we got together at her house for a sleepover, I had, like Andrew talks about, I had a download. And it freaked me out because I thought I was nuts. I thought I was crazy. And why am I getting this download about Adolf Hitler? Who wants to, I didn't idolize him or anything, but it was like confusing why I was getting the information. And then, as I got a little older and things would happen, people would say things to me. I remember one time my dad saying something to me like, are you doing witchcraft or something? And I laughed at him. I said, because my dad has at least four the American Indian tribes in him, right? And I was like, no, Dad, this is part of your heritage. But in his mind's eye, anything that was mystical or esoteric or intuitive was like devil, was witchery, And then as I got a little older, and I would share, I can remember one time sharing, I hadn't been able to play my native flute for a while because of where I lived. And so I bought this little house, and I thought, okay, well, let me play. I'm going to record it because it's been so long. And I had a dog at the time, and I was kind of nervous. And I had only been playing for a couple of minutes, and I heard something, and I thought it was him. But I looked down, and he was laying quietly at my feet. And so I said, well, okay. And I kept going. And then I listened to the recording, and Amir, right in the middle, there's as plain as that in the recording, right? And I'm going, whoa, where'd that come from? And I sent it to a friend. Well, she said her and her husband, it wouldn't stop playing. They kept hearing it after the recording was done. And so then at that point, when she would see me, she'd go, witch, witch. And there was a time when I got to go hear, a great, what do they call it? A psychiatrist. And he had ended up learning about past lives and that patients could tap into it. So he was coming to Palm Beach, Florida. So a group of us went to listen to him. And it was like an old stage that had been converted into part of this Unity church. And so he kind of put us all into a past life experience. And the experience I had, oh my goodness, Amir, it was so physical. We left there, and it was probably at least 4 hours later before I could feel it dissipating, And it was one of those times where I was in this huge stone room with this huge wooden bed with long, narrow windows. And I was just shaking because I knew that in a few hours they were coming to take me, and that was going to be the end of my life. And it was because of my beliefs. So, there's been pieces that I've like
Right.
fallen into and met periodically my whole life. And it's only as I've gotten older that I realized that the scope of, it's like reading about the Celestine prophecy books, and I was, oh, isn't that cool? They can see light. They can see the light coming from people. And then I started realizing that when I would look at the trees at night, I would see this light above them. And I always thought that it was the next community. And I realized it wasn't a community. It was just the trees. And then I realized that when I would look at people and I could see, not always, but depending on what, I could see that flare of light and sometimes color around them. And I was like, especially on videos is a great place to watch people and see it. And so little by little, and I realized that when I used to color, I would always make that dark line so that you could see that light. And consciously, I wasn't aware of it until, somebody exposed me to it, and I said, oh, wouldn't that be cool? And then myself started showing me, you are perceiving it. You already perceive it. So that's kind of the way life has been. I don't know. I can say I've been led, or
Right.
my higher self has exposed me to things. And of course, I've followed some trails, but in all honesty, I've been led,
That is so interesting, Robin. So a lot of the time, those who are really gifted, those who have a mission to complete, are born into situations, cultures, locations, families, etc., that are not very conducive to their growth. Quite to the
Right.
contrary, those situations are optimized to dampen the development of people that have gifts to bestow upon the world. So I think a lot of our esteemed audience will resonate with what you just said. Most certainly I do. And I
Yes,
think
I
that
that.
the depression that came, usually the first ones coming up are, again, intentionally the ones that will kind of discourage you from pursuing your gift. Those long windows is probably some jail cell somewhere, that they're coming to get me. So unpleasant things happen usually early on. So
Yes.
that's a common theme. So, Robin, it seems that a lot of our community, our fellow seekers of the light and light workers and healers, have started life in similar situations. Maybe the shape of the story is different, but the moral of the story is the same. So, when was it when you reignited the whole thing, the whole flame to its full potential again? Was it in your teen years or early adulthood, or can you remember?
Well, I would say that there's been a couple of ignitions going on. And I would say one is when I went to the university. I had a couple of biology chairpersons. One was retiring and one was acting as, and they kind of talked together and they said, we're giving you a key to our office because I think you'll like our library. And I love libraries. So I'm thinking I'm going to go in and find all these books, right? And I go in and there's this simple little cupboard that's about maybe 3 to 4 feet wide. It only has about 4 shelves on it. But the most important thing was, for me, is I discovered Dr. Ian Stevenson and his cases of purported reincarnation. And I'm going, wow, these biology chairmen are telling me about reincarnation. So that spurred me on. And then when I went to Florida after graduation and took a job there in teaching, at the end of my first year, I had to wait to take the state testing because I was paying back my student loan and paying so many bills. And I had to wait to pay for the testing. And then as a result, when school started, I had a lag time. So I went to a conference out in Estes, Colorado, and I got my first Reiki attunement from people from Finhorn. And that was like phenomenal because it was like, whoa, the experience and meeting. And, I got to meet people in iridology, just tons of things. So that was another eye opener. And I realized that by the time I got done, that the list of books I had made to read, somehow or another, I got exposed to every one of them. And I just discovered it one day and I said, wow, I checked them all off. So then after that, it was another 10 years. And in the meantime, my second son had been born. I got involved in doing Reiki again for a certification this time. And I got involved. I realized I was doing metaphysical studies every week, and specializing in reading things, picking up the energies. And then what happened was I got involved with the metaphysical bookstore and started teaching there and doing groups. And so then I started doing clients, and then that blew my mind because the things that were happening for them and for me, it was like, wow, they would come back and tell me, and I go, really? Wow. So, it's been like every 4 or 5 years, something new would happen and it would kind of like blow me up again, So, yeah.
That's so interesting. So, if I understand correctly, having that experience of reincarnation and truly remembering, that's all the evidence one really needs.
Oh, yeah.
My God, okay, I'm on the right track. No more doubt.
Well, yeah. And, it had been so interesting because when, as a teen, the late teen, I remember I went somewhere with a few people and, it was one of those situations where I wasn't really sure whether I should have gone or not. And I really didn't know them well, but I went anyway. And as an experience, I guess you could say I had like a mystical experience. And it was like, I went into like, I guess maybe like a trance state or something like that, a download. And it was like I was being talked to, and they showed me like one of those cosmic stardust bodies that you see from Hubble. And they said, you're part of this. There are 3 trillion pieces in this body, in this cosmic body, and you're a piece of it, and you're located in this part of it. And it was like, wow. I mean, to just say that you're simply a part of this cosmic dust thing that you can, is like, it blew my mind. And wow. I never really forgot it,
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And so the journey began, right?
Yeah.
In full power.
Yes. And, and it's been interesting because for me, I did study with somebody weekly to work on psychic development, but we really practiced reading people. And he would periodically bring people in and say, okay, group, we've got people coming in tonight. They'll put their objects in the box. We'll just practice with them and give them a reading. And, it was so funny because 2 people, first of all, a lot of people kept saying to me, you put me in mind of Joan of Arc. And I was like, well, I've heard the name, but I didn't know anything about Joan of Arc. So I kind of went and did a little bit of group. And I said, oh, okay, she was kind of like a fighter for this country and she's very spiritual. And okay, I can see maybe they could see a similar energy. And, and I kind of let it that. But the other thing was there were 2 people out of 4 years that just stuck in my mind. One was obviously involved in trafficking something across the ocean in boats, right? And the message was that, him or his family could be in danger. And I was trying to say the least amount as possible because I didn't want to jeopardize him in front of these people if what was coming. And he goes, oh, it's very interesting, but, it's not really resonating with me. And I said, that's okay. I'm sorry, I can't give. And he kind of came up later and kind of tugged me and he goes, I just want you to know. He goes, you were right on. You were right on. And then another one was this woman who came and she put an object in. And when I picked it up, I said, whoever put the object in, it's not yours, but it feels like it was a girl and it feels like kind of the attic of the house and that she liked to go up there and dance. And I said, but there, when I see her face, I see this big black spot in her head. And the woman, after I got done, the woman said, "You're right. It wasn't mine. It was my daughter's. She did love to dance, and she was killed in a train accident, and she was trained, it was a head injury." And so those things, when they happen, you can't walk away and say nothing's going on. You can't say nothing's happening. So, and I'll just say something back to somebody, and I'm always kind of amazed when they come back and they go, "How did you know that? What And it's like, it
I
just
just
happens.
know.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That's incredible. So your journey starts with a beautiful childhood, gifts in full power, then there comes the opposition, and then comes your search for the truth, and voila, we have these moments that bring absolute certainty. And that's a
Yes.
beautiful thing. And I think some of our esteemed audience haven't reached that moment of certainty yet.
Yeah. I think sometimes when you get that moment of certainty that, just so that they know, it doesn't stay. You don't always stay certain. I'm sorry, but you don't.
That's the
And
truth.
and
Yeah.
depending on where you are and how it changes or melds or how it morphs itself, it's like, before I left Florida the last time to come north here, it was very strange because I would go outside after dark, and I loved being outside at dark. It never bothered me before. And I would go outside and I would see like this, all I can think of like black light, it's like this purple blackness, and you're not really, and it's like, whoa, and it was like kind of freaky, it's like, what is, and then I heard somebody talking about something. I thought, oh, maybe that's what I'm experiencing, but it doesn't really end, and you're never like on top of it all the time. It's like you're always getting exposed to something else, and you're having to try to figure out what it is or what's going on.
Right. So once the certainty comes, the battle doesn't end, does it?
No.
So we're bombarded by different forms of opposition trying to continuously move us off our path.
Yes. There was I had mentioned that I had dreams, and early mid 30s, and I would have dreams, probably walking into places where a lot of this child abuse was going on, and it was very, very horrible to me because I kept thinking, if this is happening, what can I do about it? And if I can't do something, why am I being shown it? And the young girls being taken and being caught like in certain and it was like very freaky to me. And so I was like trying not to have dreams like that. And then I found that what was happening is that I kind of started forgetting the dreams and not remembering them. But then I started seeing that there were people in my dreams trying to stop me or always trying to block me. I didn't feel like I was being chased, that type of thing, but I was always like becoming aware that there was somebody there trying to block my path. And so that became a thing. And then I got, so I wasn't remembering the dreams so much. And I've just recently, like, maybe moved enough that I'm starting to recall them again. And so I had a
powerful incidents. So that does seem to resonate very powerfully with me. So a lot of the time, well, we know that there is darkness in the world as there is light.
Right.
And so the darkness will try to traumatize practitioners by showing them all the evil they're doing. Like, oh, look at what I've done, right?
Yeah.
And so there's that sort of feeling of, dare I say, horror. Oh my goodness, look at what this is. Well, what's all this darkness and how can I deal with it? So did you come to a conclusion on why this was being shown to you? Was it with the purpose of trying to, well, you said block you. Would you agree this was an attempt from darker energies trying to block you from moving ahead?
I think when I started realizing that I was having dreams and I was always being conscious that there was some, they were trying to block me. Yeah. I think that that was like the beginning of, I don't know, maybe me being aware of it, maybe that's what it was. And I found out what was really interesting is that I found out that it started happening in the outside world more. The
Right.
more I did those, the more it physically was going on. And it became like a PTSD response because, and I've heard some people get on people about being overreactive, but if you have never lived in the situation, it's very big of you to stand there and make little of it. But when you're being subjected to it on dream level and physical life, seeing it, you question, like, how do you deal with it? How can you, when you're made so aware of everything? I mean, it's very hard to then get your feet back on the ground and like say it doesn't exist, or it's doesn't have power over you, or whatever it is that you have to. It's very hard. It's very hard to,
So then, I mean, I suppose a lot of our esteemed audience have faced this kind of opposition, energetic opposition in many forms. I certainly have, you certainly have. And then comes that moment of glorious victory. And I think that would be the first rite of passage, true rite of passage for healers. When you learn to heal yourself.
Yeah.
When you say, okay, I see what's going on here, but I can overcome. I'm much
Right.
stronger than this. And
Yeah.
you figure it out, really. The light bulb goes on. You figure out, okay, this is how we remedy this darkness. And you see, once that happens, then you are truly powerful, because the same method you use to heal yourself then can be used to help many, many others. So would you agree with this statement?
Oh my goodness, absolutely 100%. Because when I first realized, I mean, I could see myself not being me anymore. I could see, like you and David had said, your natural response is to smile and talk with people, and that's the way I was. I would just, I learned that from my dad. He talked to and I just talked. And as a kid, if I saw anybody that was different, I was always there to talk to them. I wanted to know who they were. I wanted to talk to them. And what I realized was one of the first times, and it was when I first got introduced to all of Andrew's stuff, right? And my brother asked me about doing something. He was very big and holding me back and all that stuff. But I wasn't so aware of how big it was. But he asked me about doing something, and my comment was, well, the only reason I wouldn't do it is fear. And excuse my French, but I said, fuck fear. If that's the reason I'm not going to do it, then I'm going to do it. Let's go do it. And then as it went on, it's like, I realized the triggers that I had responded to, probably from dream time and came physically. I realized that when it's like, no, I may hear you, but you're nothing. You may be a hologram. You may be this. But as long as I don't give you my power, you have to use your own power. And so there be it, as long as I'm not empowering you, maybe I'm still getting this, but I'm not going to feed you now. And so, all in all, I absolutely agree with that, because you have to, I used to tell them in the Reiki circle, you have this huge hole in front of you. And as you're walking and you fall into it, you go, oh, how did I get here? And then pretty soon you go, okay, well, I got to go out further. And you still fall in. You go, God, it's bigger than I thought. And pretty soon you learn how far out you have to go to avoid falling into it. But it's a process. You can't just say, oh, there's a hole here, and not fall in it again, because you don't know how big the darn thing is. You don't know where it ends. So it's truly looking at self and saying, okay, what am I engaging with? What am I giving power to that's taking my power away from me?
Beautiful.
That's, really, because we have, we have to be exchanging with it in order for it to happen. So somewhere along the line, we have to admit that we're partaking in it somehow.
Absolutely. So the darkness is parasitical,
Oh.
and it has no energy source, so it's not connected to the light, which is the source of power. And so therefore come a lot of strategies to try to drain us from the light. So it's like a mosquito or any other parasitical organism trying to siphon off our energy. Once that mechanism is discontinued, they have no more power.
Exactly. You know, one of the more recent visuals that I tagged onto that is I equate it to like a rip in the fabric of the universe, or a rip in the fabric of this reality, and that has made like a black hole, and so that, you know, it's trying to suck everything in because it doesn't have its own power, and it needs you to feed it. So exactly what you're saying, it's parasitic. It can't. And if you tell it, no, you can go on and do it, but you have to do it under your own connection, your own power, you'll realize that it will disappear in a matter of seconds or minutes or something. You know, it can't live. It can't survive without us feeding it or agreeing, responding.
And that's such a powerful statement you just made. A lot of that fear, unfortunately, is rooted in our childhood. So now we've beautifully come full circle to the beginning of our life, when those groups, family members, and so on, interacting with us in our childhood state, plant the seeds of that fear inside us. And so it does usually take an adult's matured mind. I don't mean mature in age, but where the mind matures enough to understand this mechanism of some entity feeding off your energy through this mechanism of fear.
Oh, yes.
And once that fear is gone, that whole thing stops.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, you know, it's very hard, you know, especially if there's been any kind of abuse in the family or whatever. You know, I don't know what it is, but we go to the person who's been the most abusive, and we're always trying to tag on to them, and we're always trying to get them to say they're sorry, and that they realize that they love us and they didn't mean to hurt us, and we totally forget the real abuser. And the sad thing is that in families, my mother was, even though my dad was the physical one, my mother is the one who started at a very early age, because she was very light-skinned, redhead, freckled, and I was more my dad's coloring. And, you know, it's very hard to understand. I mean, I always knew that there was a tension, and I always knew that there was a thing. But as I got older and older and older, and I realized the depth of it, she really, at a very early age, started programming my brother and me in a very, you know, him with her, and it was always against this one here. But yes, it really, you know, it's shocking in a way when you go back and you understand that it was in the family dynamics long before you were ever aware of it.
Correct, absolutely right. So these are really useful and helpful nuggets of information for our esteemed audience, that many of us, if I dare say all of us, have faced this kind of opposition from early childhood, as if the darkness knows what we are about to do in our lifetime, what our mission is, and they start attacking us even before we have come into full awareness of who and what we are. So that is such an unfair advantage. But guess what? Here we are, right? In our full power, speaking truth to power, right? And this truth is going to help so many people to understand that, okay, what happened in your childhood, what happened in your early years was done by design. You didn't do anything wrong. This was done intentionally to try and prevent you to coming into your full power.
Yeah.
And so then again, we come back to healing oneself, that realization that this whole thing has been a war all along.
Yes.
And the fact that you are here and you're alive, you may have scars, you may have wounds, some of them may still hurt, but you're still here.
Oh,
And
yes.
what that means is that you are victorious, because the opposition's objective is to break you, to turn
Hmm.
you, or to kill you.
Hmm. Yep.
None of the above have happened, so we are victorious.
Yes.
And
Amazing.
and so, excuse me. So I'd like to move on now
Mhm.
to the mission, right? Which is okay. They've done everything to prevent you from getting to the starting point of the mission, which is spreading the light. Each of us do this in a different form
Yep.
towards the highest good of all. So, can you please kindly describe to our esteemed audience how you perform this glorious mission of spreading the light? What's your
Well,
form?
I think one of the things that I've noticed is that when I come into people's lives, and I started telling them this back in 2009-ish, I said, if I've come into your life, I don't know how, but I'm going to tell you right now. Somehow your life is going to change drastically. Something that you've never probably envisioned before, but and I'm not trying to do it, but I'm going to tell you from experience, this is probably going to happen. Something is going to change big time. The other thing that I've always, from the time I was like, two-ish, is that I get near people and I just want their heart to sing. I want them to feel good. So part of me, my natural chemical, whatever we want to call it, is to reflect back to people the beauty that they are,
Oh,
that
wow.
what they have that someone else may not have ever seen before, that they have something to give. I love to make spaces that are beautiful, or whatever. It doesn't matter. It's that creating and allowing beauty to come forth. And I had a lot of people during my lifetime say, "Oh, you're a bright one," and I'd go, "Oh, okay," or "You're shiny," or "Oh, you're and I couldn't understand what they were saying, but I think it's like that old song, every candle with one little candle, what a bright world we can be, because it only takes one candle against another candle to ignite it. And
Absolutely.
therefore, now there's two going out igniting. And so I just think that that's, and maybe somebody can give me a clearer understanding, but I just think I help people ignite. I think I help people refine themselves, maybe recharge enough to grab. So I don't know if you have a different view or understanding. That'd
Oh,
be
no,
great
no,
too.
that's pretty accurate. I mean, the first time that we had a discussion, you kickstarted a process of expansion in me. Extremely powerful, Robin, okay? And I've been through some powerful stuff. This was something different. Starting from the crown as if I'm a pipe, and suddenly the pipe is getting bigger and wider so I can channel more light. Undeniable. Okay, so you do exactly what you say. Kickstarting an expansion for that light to shine brighter in people. So
Yeah.
if the flame is out, you ignite it. If the flame is there, you feed it oxygen and fuel, so it gets even more glorious. So I
Yes.
think you're describing it pretty spot on. Isn't that a beautiful gift? And you see,
It's
Robin, that's why they started that. That's why they tried to stop you so powerfully. You see, it
yeah.
does really make sense when you look at the entirety of your life all at once, and you're just at the beginning of your journey. When you're in your full power, you still have so many countless people to help in this beautiful way.
Yes.
But it does make sense, doesn't it?
Well, and it's so funny because you hear people saying, "Well, what's your life purpose?" and "What's my life purpose?" and "What am I here to do?" And more than anything, I think vocabulary and language puts people at a disadvantage,
Oh my
because
God. Yes.
because words, people, and they go on and on and on with all these words and convoluted sentences and this, and I just go, "Oh my God, you just stop,"
Just shut up for already. Yes, I know.
and reading, they'll write and it's like, can't you just say it? And but it's I forgot where I was going with it.
So the words, and yet try to use those big words and get people distracted with garbage.
Yes, yes, and it really is. And it's, if you think about it, at the time that we came from those stardust clouds, if I can go to that point, there isn't this convoluted language of decimal points and commas and
Right.
capitalization and
Right.
this. That's all humanness. That's human form or control or whatever, trying to make you fit in a box. But that's not how it works. It
Yeah.
doesn't work in those sentence structures, because all I have to do is put the intent there and send to you or send to someone else, and I don't need to do all that other stuff. It doesn't.
That makes perfect sense. You can't fit the mighty ocean in one cup. So that would be trying to linguistically describe the infinite mystery. It's a futile attempt, and it only causes harm and confusion. So at a
Yes.
certain point, one must understand the language of knowingness.
Yes. Yes.
You
Yes.
just know, you just feel. That's enough. The brain cannot contain all of it in its infinite beauty and complexity.
Yes. And it's so many times. So I remember my sister had commented on Facebook that she was on it. I don't know. She posted that she was going to be checking out of work at 11 o'clock, and I came back and I said, "What about 11:15?" She came back later. She goes, "Oh my God, how did you know it was 11:15 exactly?" And I go, "I don't know. It just came to me. I just
There
knew
you
it."
go. Right. And then
But
if you want to describe that as a protocol, that's where many people have failed in history, trying to put it into a protocol. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how you arrive at 11:15. There is no formula, right?
there isn't, and I get so. For me personally, with the way that I was made and put together, I have this dyslexia going on. I have this left-handed being forced to do right-handed stuff, and I have all these other things, and so English to me was like a foreign language. It didn't make sense, and to
Yep.
have
And
people,
also check. Yep.
yeah, people demanding that you do it, and they're, oh, we're going to do somebody else's written stuff, and we're all going to do the written stuff, and I'm going like,
Why? Yeah.
okay. But
Amazing.
it makes it very hard for me, because I just, it's like you feel handicapped. Yeah,
Yes.
I can't. And when they'll put so many documents on, okay, read these documents, or read this documents, and I go, yeah, no.
I understand perfectly. Yes, that's another way of dulling the edge of our sword of truth, right? By just grinding it the wrong way with boring material that is not natural to us. I
Yeah,
mean, Robin, you're a teacher. You know this powerfully, that we're all different. So we
yes,
don't all learn in the same way. We don't express in the same way. So
no,
that format, that okay, this is the formula, and by God, everybody must do the same thing. That's a way of suppressing the population in its entirety.
yeah, it feels like it, because it's like, I was talking with sweet Amy, and she said something about herself, and I said, but Amy, if we're going to listen to the Universal Symphony, it takes somebody to write the music, somebody to write the words if there's words, somebody to do all the different parts, somebody to make the instruments, somebody to play the instruments, somebody to make the platform. I said, we can't all be doing the same thing, following the same thing. It wouldn't work that way.
That's so true. That is absolutely true. And that's one of the biggest downfalls of established religions,
Mm.
right? We all seek the light and express the light, this flow of light inside our being in a different, unique way, and that's what makes us beautiful. In fact, our differences is what has allowed us to survive as a species.
Yeah.
If we were all hunters, then we wouldn't hunt for some time, we'd starve to death. If we were all gatherers, we wouldn't find stuff to gather, we would starve to death, right? This is just a very crude example, but through our diversity, we are strong as a species, and trying to put everybody into the same format, especially in spirituality, that you got to work this many hours or minutes per day. If not, you're a failure. Oh my God, isn't that a bunch of nonsense?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so that doesn't work, does it? That's a pitfall. That's a trap.
No, no. And it really is, I think, sad, because then whoever we are and whatever things that we've had to deal with, we may take that as truth, and we start beating ourselves up for it. We
Exactly.
start questioning why we can't do it, or that we're this failure, or that we're this less than.
There
And
we go.
who
Down the
does
spiral.
that,
Yeah.
who does it serve? Who does it serve?
It doesn't
doesn't.
serve anybody, you see. And then that whole thing that will put you in a position that maybe I'm lesser than, or weaker than, and less capable than whatever standard, whatever fictitious garbage standard that's put into place. Well, we know through, let's say we're having this conversation, you and I both know that certain things happen in divine timing. It is orchestrated by a greater intelligence than can be described or comprehended. And so they're putting, okay, go. You start your spiritual activity now. I'm timing you. If it's anything less than this, now you fail. What a bunch of nonsense.
My
We
goodness.
can't control that kind of beautiful divine thing. So that is a fallacy.
Oh my God. Can you imagine going out and you may see the Northern Lights tonight? You don't know, but there's a possibility. And you go, okay, you can start at this minute.
Yep.
And you got till this minute. And
observe,
if you don't
observe. Okay, don't observe anymore. Time's up. Okay, back.
Can you imagine? Wow.
Yes. Yes.
You know, the gears meet when the gears meet, and
there we go.
You know,
you can't time that kind of thing. That whole notion of time is a limitation.
Absolutely.
It's just a property of the physical dimension. Time, gravity, these kind of things, electromagnetism, these are physical properties of a physical reality, but we're so much more. And most certainly, great mystery encompassing all is so much more. So yeah, we've come across a really critical point. It happens in divine timing. If you're open to receive, so it may be.
Right. And the amount that you receive is part of divine timing, but it's also whether you're present enough to receive it and be aware of it too.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Absolutely correct. Yes, yes, yes. So we're breaking paradigms, right? We're breaking limitations of the mind and of the spirit for the light to come in. Oh, Robin, you're doing it again, right? Igniting more light in more people. Oh, well, what do you know? It's happening as we're speaking. and now I'd like to really focus on something that would be very helpful, most helpful to most people. That fear. Okay, that's something that's used on all of us. And so I can basically describe my own process of freedom from it. And then I'd like you to also advise our esteemed audience on your process of overcoming it. And then perhaps they will come with their own unique, beautiful solution of overcoming that fear. For me, it got to a state where I got sick of it. It's that moment when you finally get pissed off. As in, God damn it, enough is enough. Come at me. Just show me what you've got. I'm here. I'm not running anymore.
Right.
Just come at me. Let's do this already.
Yeah.
And in that instance where you stand up in all your power, you feel that vital light inside you come into a brilliant full flame, where that fear, it reveals its true nature. It's a massive loudspeaker with 2 wires connected to a tiny battery. It makes a loud noise, but at the end, when you face it and confront it, it all melts away.
Yeah.
So really, does it take that point of coming to that divine anger, righteous anger? Enough is enough. No more of this nonsense. So could you please just describe your process of beating it.
Well, I agree with it. You get to a point where you have to within yourself say, for whatever reason, no,
Yes.
no, I'm not going to accept it. No, I'm not going to let it keep me captive anymore. No, I'm not going to feed it. Whatever our our realization is, but it is coming to a point that in one moment's time, we say, like, enough of this, something has to change.
Right.
And I think part of mine was I was working at a holistic center, and I realized that either I was co-creating or I was being bombarded with things to make me fear. And I realized that throughout the day, there was something going on 24 hours a day to tag into me. And they were coming from outside sources. And the way that they were being presented, it really felt like it was that you were being surveyed. Your light body could be detected and you could be followed. And so I went through this thing, like, am I like hallucinating? Am I going off the deep edge? What is going on? But I realized that as time went on, I was becoming more and more incapacitated to just be me. And I realized that I was hyper overreactive or hypersensitive to almost, I could see in the sky daily X's above my house. I could see him in the sky and I go, I wonder where that is. And I'd get to, and there it was above my house. And they're just things. And then they would come and, wherever I'd be, then all of a sudden they would show up. And so I was like trying to figure out in my conscious, logical, everyday life, is this really going on? Is it possible? Is it something else going on? I was afraid to walk across the yard. I was afraid to be outside it. Everything that I loved, fear got attached to it. And so life as Robin was disappearing. It was like disintegrating before and I said, I'm not me anymore. I'm not me. I'm totally aware that there are crazy people and I can feel them coming, and I try to, but I didn't live like in that state of constant fear or terror or hypervigilance. But I realized that that's what I was becoming, totally enmeshed, totally swallowed by it. And so I had to start doing it. So one of my first things was I would try to ignore it. Not, just, okay, it's there, I'm going to ignore it. And then I got to the point where I was saying, okay, I'm maybe it's something else and it's not really there. Maybe it's a hologram being, maybe it's a blue beam type of thing. Maybe it's this type of a thing. Maybe it's a sound maker that they've created and they can broadcast some. So I started like putting things in my consciousness that could explain it to me in maybe a different way. And then I got to the point where I said, no, if I'm not doing something that I normally would have done because of fear, fuck it. I know. Yes. And so like even today, it's like certain things will get me and tag me and I'll say, okay, but sounds come and sounds go. Okay, well, maybe it is, but maybe it isn't. But I'm not gonna feed you. And so what I even did is and it was somebody's suggestion, but I thought of it as an electrical circuit type of thing. And I thought, okay, you've got switches that can open or close the circuit. You've got conductors, you've got insulators, you've got all these different things. So I said, okay, well, if this is so, then you're something that's coming at me, but you need my energy. So when you come at me, I'm going to take and put a non-conducting thing around you so you can't conduct out to me. And then I'm going to insulate you so that the only energy you can get is if you're connected to your own source, not me. Right. So I actually did like a science experiment in my head. And every time something would happen, I would like invoke that. And I would see it, and I would see insulators, conductors, non-conductors, and I would make it a real circuit breaker type of thing. And
Yes.
so I would actually say, no, you don't have that power to get to me because, you're insulated and you have these non-conducting things around you. And so, before years ago, I would just surround them in white light, that would be enough. So what I had to do was at different stages, I had to give this person, this scientific, artistic, creative, go with the flow. I had to give it real logical things that I knew worked right in real life.
Beautiful.
And then as time went on, I would reduce it to, you know, I bless you. I send you light. You can go on if you want, but you have to use your own energy. I'm not going to support you, So I made it smaller and smaller and more condensed and more condensed. And so today, and like one of the big things is on Facebook, they'll put all these military men and they'll come on and they'll put this blurb, oh, you're so beautiful, and I've been trying to get in touch with you and message me, and I go, no, man, you're a bot. And then, and then I would first react with fear, and then I'd say, you're a bot, and then I finally just go, block, delete,
There we go.
done, there you
You're
go.
tired of this stupid game, right? You see the game from how stupid it is and how pathetic it is.
Yes, and it would be a constant thing. It's like, some weeks every day, and they'd always do this military, like he's a high-ranking
Wow.
military, because it was, coming from that life that I came from, they represent, power and
Authority.
control and authority. Yeah, and I just said,
Read between the lines, yes?
stereo.
Robin,
Yeah,
that is so beautiful what you just described. I really love your method of alchemy because that's exactly what this is, alchemy.
yes,
You're transmuting that negativity into something that is neutral or positive. So
right.
you use the visualization of electric or electronic circuitry, breaking the circuit. I'd like to share my visualization with our
Oh, I would.
esteemed audience. So I like to think of it, so I went a little more old school, like a very intricate mechanical clock with
Yeah.
gears and moving parts and springs and all that stuff, with a little syringe that is plugging into me and feeding on my energy. So
Ah,
my strategy is for a little while I play dead. Okay, you want energy? Take some. Hey, go on, take some more. And then when it's finally full, then I turn my energy into super glue, into cement. Say, okay, now go mellow, you MF, okay? And that
yeah.
puts that whole thing beyond repair.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
going back to my engineering background, if you have to recall a product, it's 10 times more expensive than fixing the problem before you distribute. So then that energetic parasite is permanently out of commission in a state of being stuck, not being able to work or move beyond help from its own kind.
Yeah.
So that's how you take them out without causing them harm, right? They've intruded into your reality, overstepped your free will, stolen your energy, but guess what? That energy is still yours. So if you want to turn your energy into super glue or cement, no karma, right? Or if even better, you want to turn it into the violet flame of transmutation, even better, right? You transmute it. The being that has intruded has done so with his free will. No karma for you. You set it ablaze with the violet fire. Has two choices. Choose to reach out for the light and ascend, evolve, or number two, be burned by the violet flame into your constituent parts. So whatever is the outcome of this violet fire is going to be of service to the all. So
I
you see,
love.
we all come up with our different beautiful strategies, and I want to encourage our esteemed audience, ladies and gentlemen, see, we're two examples for you, but it doesn't mean you have to do the same thing. If you want to do the same thing, you like the electronics, power to you. You like the super glue, that's a little naughty, right? Go
I
for that
love
too.
that.
You know? So yeah, this is really beautiful, dealing with the fear and how people can overcome because once you overcome, I mean, for example, Robin, you've reached a stage now. You see this stupid game from a mile away. Oh, not playing. Block. Not even. Don't even try that. Block. That's so beneath me. No, no, no more. And so now we've also learned that your beautiful, beautiful gift, the way you express the light, is to ignite the flame in others and strengthen the flame in others.
Yes.
I can vouch for that with certainty and all the honesty in my being. What a beautiful gift.
Yeah,
And
can you imagine not seeing Earth at night with the electronical lights, but with people's lights,
right,
the light of
right.
people shining.
Yes.
That's that's what I see. That's what I feel is people's lights lighting it up, and that they see us from the far reaches of the galaxy.
It's impossible not to see, isn't it? So we're now, we had a wonderful discussion. I'd like to slowly wrap it up to keep it short out of respect for the time of our esteemed audience. So Robin, I'm going to give you the last word. So please say what your heart desires.
So first of all, each and every one of you that's here now, then will be, whatever the case may be, may we all within ourselves acknowledge that we be, that we are, and that together, together we can only build more, and alone we may, but together, oh my God, the bridges that we build, the networking that we build, the structures that we build, the freedom to really ignite and let this earth move away from where we've been held and release us so that evolution can continue on is a gift for us all.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, the incredible Robin Neeley, aka Mother. Now you know why we affectionately call her that. I mean, look at this beautiful, beautiful human being. Robin, it's been such an honor speaking with you and allowing our esteemed audience to get to know you a little bit more and be blessed by your light and your gift like we have. So yes, let's wrap this up. Ladies and gentlemen, of course you know that you can book healing sessions with Robin. Now you know what the gift is. That beautiful divine light, if it's out, he will ignite it for you. If it's already there, I can vouch for it. She will expand that light, increase your abilities. I've experienced this in the past days. It's unbelievable. And so with that said, I'd like to wish you all a really, really wonderful day. Blessings to you.
Blessings.